This is Idaho Media Showcase. Exploring all facets of media production throughout our beautiful state of Idaho.
Good evening and welcome to Idaho Media Showcase. I'm your host, Lance Thompson. If it's dark outside, that means it's Friday at 7 p.m. If it's light outside, that means it's Monday at 9 a.m. We show the same show twice a week. My guest tonight is Dan Allers. He's a gaffer, lighting designer, and lighting director. You know, in the old days, the directors used to say lights, camera, action. Lights comes first because lights are the most important part of making a movie. So Dan is the owner of Idaho Cinematic Equipment. He has the coolest grip truck in the whole region. He's lit all kinds of events and concerts and movies and film. He's worked on land and on the sea. He's lit 5 different presidents, and he may tell us who those are. Dan Allers, welcome to Idaho Media Showcase.
Thank you, Lance. Good to be here.
Now, what is a gaffer? I see that at the very end of the credits on all the movies. What does that mean? What do you do?
Gaffer's the head lighting person that follows the direction of the cinematographer who tells him how he wants to light a scene. So.
And then lighting designer, lighting director, what are those things?
Lighting director is for a TV show, and then a lighting designer is usually in the live theater or live concert situation.
Okay, and you've just come back from an event in Florida.
In Orlando, yes. I did the TD Ameritrade National Convention for 3,800 guests, clients, and big room, lots of screens. So it's treated, even though it's a live event, we treat it more like a TV show because there's so many big screens so people can see what's going on stage because, you know, they're far enough away that they're kind of insignificant out there. So is
that all part of your job, is to make those screens able to be seen on camera and all that stuff and make everybody, you know, balanced and all that?
It's quite a blend to make it look right for live and to make it look right for the cameras in an event like that. Yeah, because you have to please both your human eye and have enough light up there, but then you have to be conscious of what the camera people want and need to make the show work on the screens, because the screens are just as important, you know.
Okay. So how did you get in? This is a very particular aspect of filmmaking, movie making, live event. How did you get involved in this in the first place?
Well, my training was in live theater, and at one point I had done 300 live musical comedies, musical theater, and was asked by some production companies here in Boise, Idaho, if I could help them out on some of their film projects. And they taught me the film side, and I brought in the techniques that I had learned and used on stage, and I think made some of them look better, prettier.
What's the secret to doing that? How do you is it just how you aim the lights, how much light you have? What's your...
There are people I've worked with that we called it welding with light, even in live theater. And they just, you know, if there's a little bit of light, let's give them a lot of light. And they're not necessarily successful with how it looks. So I learned right away to finesse it more. And when like I do an opera at the Morrison Center for Opera Idaho, I'll use 5 different shades of blue and think nothing of it, because I'm toning with those shades of blue for a night scene. It's not just all blue from all directions all the time, you know. It's varying grades of blue, blue-green, blue-red, you know, and to get your definition of the people on stage.
So you didn't have formal training in this. You're learning as you do all these different kinds of events and different venues and things. You're, you know, experimenting and...
No, I have a bachelor's in theater production with emphasis on lighting.
Oh, on lighting. Okay.
For live.
So is it a lot different for if you're doing a live production, a television production, film production?
Without getting into the gory details and holding a workshop,
Which
no,
you do.
No, yes, which I do. I have done. Yes. No, it's really the key fundamentals to what you're doing is all the same for no matter what kind of lighting. Still photographer, live stage, TV, film. It's all the same.
Okay. So what is Idaho Cinematic Equipment? Is that all lighting? Or is that, did they hire you that come in and do a show or a project or?
Well, I have another company too called Idaho Theatrical Lighting, and I learned a long time ago that the film people won't hire a theatrical lighting company to come in and help them with their project because you don't know what you're doing on a film. So I have the two companies. One does live stage, and one does film and television. So Idaho Cinematic Equipment just does lighting for the films and TV shows.
Do you have a different costume for each when you're representing?
No,
each one?
I don't even wear a different hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now we have these really cool cameras, all these digital cameras, and they seem to be able to, you can shoot a birthday party, kids blowing out candles and stuff. Do we even need lighting anymore? It seems like...
Yes, we still need lighting. If your end goal on your media, whatever your choice is to look like a feature film, then you still need to light it. If you want it to be a documentary, you still need to do certain things so you can see what the action is. But you still need lighting. You may need less of it. I mean, a small light in the days of black and white film were 12K and 24K and 36K. Now we're talking about 600 watts, 0.6K, and LEDs that they can't even put a wattage to because it's such a small draw. It doesn't even equate to lumens anymore. So yeah, we need less light in the new digital age, but we don't need to throw away lighting completely. If you want it to look good, you need to still do the lighting techniques that are taught.
Does it make your job easier to need less, or is the hardest part of your job deciding what the mood or the mix of colors is going to be? I mean, obviously it's less equipment to haul around, but what's the challenge now with digital photography, digital videography?
It can see so much more than it used to. Because it's so active to the low light end, shadows that we used to not worry about, now you can see everything that's going on in those shadows, so you have to decide if that's really the shadow you want and almost overemphasize a shadow if you want something to disappear. Color temperature doesn't seem to be quite as important, but you can play with colors, I think, more in the digital age now. Because there's a monitor and you can see. In the old film days, I would throw some color on a set, and when we wouldn't know what it really looked like until the film was developed and printed, and we got it back and went, oh.
And then it's too late then.
Yes, yeah.
Well, now you've lit 5 different presidents. How did that come about? Are you...
Mainly because I had the equipment here in Boise, Idaho, so I would get these phone calls, and one of the things, I'm going to give a little trade secret away here. The places that he would be at would call up and say, "We need you to light somebody," and I'd go,
Somebody.
"Okay, what day? We can't tell you." Well, it's kind of hard not to know when to light them if you don't tell me what day. Can you tell me anything more about it? And at one point they said, well, it needs to be at 52 degrees above the horizon, and it needs to be 200-foot candles. And I said, oh, President Daddy Bush. And they said, shh, you're not supposed to know that. And how do you know that? And I said, because the president's the only one who gets 200-foot candles. Football games, professional football games, only get 150-foot candles. And part of the reason they've done this is to keep the cameras further away from the president and not have it look grainy. So they've guaranteed the press corps that they'll keep the lumens up on stage so that they can be further away and at a safe zone is what the concern is.
So you're lighting for every press camera, everybody who's coming.
Yes.
Because they're all trying to crowd in, but
Right.
you're in charge of that.
Right.
So how much how much say do you have in, how he's set up and where he is and all that sort of thing? I mean,
if I do my job right, I've had 100% say, and when they come in and make sure that it's right, because the White House staff then comes in and makes sure they have their little meters and they do their other little checks, and if I've done it right, then they don't say anything to me, and we just go on and have a great show. I did light a situation in which we tried to light it at night, and I kept telling them, but tomorrow morning when he really does talk, the sun will be up, and we need to take that into account. And they were like, well, but this isn't working out on our little meters. And I said, we'll be back here in the morning. We'll see you then. And of course everything was fine. But.
So and then afterward, are you invited into Air Force One to have a drink or any of that? No.
No.
Okay. Well, one of the other things that you've done here is you were in charge of lighting for the Special Olympics World
Winter Games.
World Winter Games.
2009 in Nampa.
In
Yep.
Nampa.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was now that's another situation where you'd have a lot of press coverage, right? A lot of different cameras.
Yes, it was handled that same way. There was a lot of press. We knew where the press was going to be. We also had 12 live cameras. And how I talk about that in my workshops is, now it's not live theater anymore where the audience is in a fixed place. Now you have 12 cameras all over the building. And if one of them says, hey, I need you to change the lighting for me, you have to say, well, but the other 11 guys have a really beautiful shot. So what do you want me to do to help you with your one camera, So.
Are they in contact with as this is going on? So you're getting input from 12 different...
No, they have to go through the director who's calling the shots. And I will adjust lights. If they're going to go to a big wide shot of the whole crowd, I will bring up the crowd lights like 3 seconds before they go to that, because we don't want the crowd lit the whole time. So yeah, we anticipate those big wide shots in an event like that. Yeah.
Are you standing with a big control, like an enterprise thing, and you're doing...
The console I prefer has 288 buttons on it.
And then how do you keep track of that? How do you know you've got like a bunch of sticky tapes or notes? Or
no, that one has actually digital readout. I can tell it to tell me what that cue is and what it's going to light.
Wow! And
rather than sticky notes.
Do you have a staff? I mean, how do you keep track of all that? Is it all you?
It's all me. So an event like that I will work on in advance for 3 months. Usually build somewhere around 600 light cues, so that it's all in a palette. It's all just there for me to grab, and some aspects are rehearsed, some you can't rehearse. Like in that event in particular, the bringing in the nations, we couldn't have 3,800 athletes come in and practice that. So we played some music and I changed some lights and we were happy with it. And then of course they start coming in and they come in through the wrong door, and that nation isn't going the right way that we want them in the pattern. So you just have to fix the live event as it's happening.
Okay, and when you say lighting cues, what is that? Is that a point at which you change light, or a different? Okay, so and those are all coming from the director saying. And
he may not know what all the cues I have. I mean, there hasn't been a time in which he sat down and saw all 600 cues necessarily.
So he just.
But I know he says I need to light stage right, podium. I need to light the main stage. We're going to have this act come up, and I may have set aside 10 to 20 light cues just for a musical act. And it's their colors. In the new digital age too, the lights are much fancier. They have 16 million colors that I can choose from them. So I try and choose palettes for each of the different musical acts that I'm doing on stage, and try and make them unique to that musical act.
Right,
I mean, if I have 16 million colors, why do I need to share?
Right.
So
of course. Okay. Oh, well, I can't imagine one person doing this. It seems like air traffic control and juggling and Cirque du Soleil all at once.
You have to think three-dimensionally.
Okay, yeah, but there's also how close you are and how it just seems like calculus. It just seems hard. So
it's not hard if you're artistic and can be where you can see. I mean, it's certainly in a live event with 12 cameras, like I was saying, I want to have those monitors in front of me so I can see what the cameras are seeing too, and I can make adjustments and like I said, back on the fly, I can adjust things. So,
can you do that on your own on your own authority? I mean, you don't have to wait for the director to say, okay, that guy's, all right.
No.
So,
If you built a rapport with the director.
okay,
Yeah.
right. And then how often do you know the director? I mean, if these presidential things come through, or the Olympics, or one of these, not
Per event.
often. Per event.
Per event.
Okay.
I would say only operas have I gotten the opportunity to work with a director 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
So it's always new. So they're trusting you that you know what you're doing. So how does that differ on if you're going to work on a film project? You don't have to do it live. You do each.
Right. You only have to get that one take right on a film project. So, I continually watch. I continually look over the camera's shoulder, and usually there's only one camera on a feature film type project, and so I watch that monitor, or look over the shoulder of the camera operator, so I can see what they're seeing as best I can. And we can make changes all throughout till we get it right, So it's kind of a give and take, Who's going to be the last one to make the change, the actor or the lighting department,
Okay. Well, now, and when Idaho Cinematic Equipment or Idaho Theatrical Lighting does a project, do you always come with it? Are you part of the package, or can people use the equipment without?
Yes, the grip truck can be rented and can go out on projects, and there's several gaffers around, and that's fine.
And what is a grip truck? It sounds pretty manly. A grip, like something you pick up and.
Well, it's a 4-ton grip truck, so it's
Okay.
even more manly.
Okay.
It's all the equipment that's not the camera, not a set, not a costume, and not a prop that is needed to make a film. So all the stands, including the light stands, all the stands to hold flags, which are ways to manipulate light, overhead, which is our shading devices, and the dolly and track, and all those things.
So all that is on this one vehicle.
Yes.
So it's location equipment for you can do what? Can you do a feature film with that?
Yes. About a $2 million picture I can do with what's on my truck currently. May have to bring in some more lights, but what the grip package I have on it is sufficient to do a $2 million picture.
And you just got a new something. It's not a hood ornament. It's something else. What is it?
It's a hood mount for the
mount.
camera.
A hood mount.
So
okay.
it's a bunch of suction cups and bracing so that you can mount the camera on the hood of a car. So while you're driving down the road, you can shoot whatever the action is inside the car. So.
And do they do it? I mean, I always wondered, do they do that? Is that really a car driving down the road, or is it towed, or is it on a trailer? How is that usually done? I mean, that seems like a.
There's a preference to tow it, because you've got actors and they're thinking about other things really more than their safety of driving the car. But you still want the steering wheel to turn.
Yeah.
So I also have a tow dolly, so I can pull it and the wheels still turn when you go around corners. So it's very realistic, but they're not in control of starting or stopping the car, which means they also don't have to look at the highway when they're driving. But it's really preference of the actors and the director and how realistic or not they want it to be. There's a very fine show that's still on television that's shot every week, and it's shot in L.A., but without giving the show's name away, they always do a driving sequence in which they do close-ups of the 2 main stars as they're driving in this car. And it's of Washington, D.C., and we know for a fact they're not flying back and forth to do this each week. So I'm pretty sure it's sitting in a studio with projection screens around it to even show it. They don't even bother with green screen. They just go ahead and go right to projection screens and show movies of Washington, D.C. going by them as they sit in this car, because if they really were driving, they are quite dangerous.
and they would be stopped at places.
Oh,
by
yeah.
the park police. Well, and if it's a feature film, can you give us an example of something you've worked on that's a film project lately, or?
Well, Magic Valley, which just premiered at the Sun Valley the Sun Valley Film Festival.
And did that win an award?
It won 3 awards. I'm not quite sure what all the categories were, but. Yeah.
So it did very well. Mm-hmm. So on that, how early are you brought in to that project? Are you talking with the director of photography and the director about how it's going to set up, or do they just say, we're shooting on Monday, be there with your stuff? What's your input? How do
There
you,
were conversations probably 2 months in advance of the first day of shooting. Then really 1 month out, we started talking about actual, techniques that we wanted to employ, because you have to make sure you have the right equipment. And one of the things we did with that picture too was we supplemented it with some more lighting from Salt Lake City. So we really had to get nitpicky on what I had on the truck and figure out what more we wanted. And it had a lot of car shots. So we brought a truck up that from Salt Lake City that had a generator mounted on it so that we could light it as we traveled down the road, because we knew it was going to be overcast. We had so many days of shooting that we knew we needed to make sure we supplemented that so it looked right on film.
okay.
So.
And then for, have you done TV shows that have come to this area, or is that a different?
That was in a different market. Actually, I worked on some cable shows. Yeah.
And that's obviously a much tighter deadline and faster schedule and that sort of thing. Does your work change because of that?
It's yeah, because you're kind of more in a studio situation, and you have a standard set of lights in that, and it's just really just turning them on every day kind of thing, because you can't be delaying the project in any way, because every week you got to crank out the same 1 hour show. So.
Okay. Well, you obviously do a lot of work in all sorts of venues. How do you see the film industry in Idaho? Are we growing? Are we stagnant? Might as well give it up and move to Salt Lake City? What do you think of happening here in terms of our industry?
I see the independent films continuing to want to come here for whatever reasons. Our geography, our topography, our friendly people, I'm not quite sure, but the independent films makers keep still coming to Idaho to shoot. What would be nice, and it's not out of the question, is to have a major studio feature film come to Idaho. And what would be nice about that is truly the economy of it, to really open the eyes of the people of this part of the state in particular, of how much money that really would bring in to a stagnant economy, and how many jobs it would create. And yes, it's temporary, but the more you do those shows, the more they're going to come back, and then we can start calling them permanent jobs,
Right, because
so.
People, they will work on the next project, the next film that comes.
Right.
Do we have a crew? Do we have enough crew here to do that, or would they have to bring crew in for?
They're going to bring some anyway. They're going to bring their gaffer that they've worked with before. They're going to bring their cinematographer. Obviously, a director and a cinematographer work so close hand in hand that they're going to bring those guys in. But the other 150 people that work on a film set, plasterers, carpenters, electricians, seamstresses, makeup people, they're going to use what's here. And I would say we have a pretty good A team that exists here in southwestern Idaho. We probably have a pretty decent B team that can work on a feature film. After that, we're what's called thin. And so if they want to do much more than that, or there's more than 2 independent films going on at a time, now you're going to have to get some students. You're going to have to get some people who maybe have never been on a film set before. So that's what the feature studios are going to look at. They want it a little deeper. They want to shop. They want to be able to shop the job pool and not just have to be stuck with what we consider the A team when they come. So.
And you're helping to train crew in your classes in your workshops at
I am.
BSU and also outside the
Correct.
university.
Correct.
And where do we need the most? Where are we lacking in crew? What specialties? Where do you think that we?
I don't know that we're lacking in any specialties, because we, like I said, we got electricians and welders and carpenters and plasters and painters, because we have that workforce here. What we're lacking is their knowledge of what it really means to work on a film set, and the simple answer is, the director will say, this cup is blue, it needs to be green, and he'll set it back down, and really the next time he sees that cup, it better be green. And that means the standby painter needs to have a green paint and a brush And you know, I'm oversimplifying it,
yes,
of course, but that's the idea. It's about this moment, and really nothing else short of a major natural disaster matters. That we got to take care of this moment, because it is costing them a lot of money to make a feature film, and every moment counts to get it shot. Yeah. And what they're trying to do is leave room for those lucky happenstances that happen between the actors. They want to make all the rest of it go away, so that you can have the magic that shows up in a lot of our films that we come to enjoy. And you can't have that if there's disruptions and the wrong things going on a set. So.
Okay. And so what will be next for you? What is your next project coming up? You're just back from Florida. Do you have another gig set up, or?
Yeah, no, actually I was shooting today. We were shooting a local commercial for a local car seller. And they were actually giving me a bad time, because I am actually shooting something else on Thursday that I don't know what it is. So
that could be a president again.
No, that one I usually know. No, but the script is not important to me as the gaffer on a project, because I'm still going to light it as pretty as I can. And you know.
So you just need to know where.
I just need to know where to show up for some of these locations. Yeah. Some of the projects take 3 months, like we've talked about, but some of the projects take 5 minutes of thought, and then we just go. So
very good. And people who would like to take your class, they take it through BSU?
Boise State, yes.
Boise State.
And it is offered again next winter semester in February. Yeah.
And they will learn lighting and electrical and gaffing and all that stuff. And then you do outside workshops as well.
Yes.
Occasionally.
So really the best place to go there is to IMP, the Idaho Media Professionals, and that's the best way to be apprised of when I teach some workshops or other workshops that are available. You're teaching a workshop soon.
I'm teaching a workshop this weekend for screenwriters, Saturday and Sunday, 24th and 25th. And also information from that is also at idahomediapro.org. So if any of you are interested in becoming a lighting designer or learning about how that works, gaffing and plugging things in and plugging things out, or in writing screenplays and scripts, check out idahomediapro.org, or just look us up on Facebook. Are you on Facebook?
I'm on
LinkedIn,
Facebook. Mm-hmm.
Facebook, any of those social networking sites, and we'll be there. Dan Allers, thank you. That was fascinating.
Thank you, Lance.
I feel like I got an education this evening. And I hope you do as well. We'll be back next week, Friday at 7, or Monday morning at 9 a.m. And if you miss it tonight, you won't know, because you'll have to see it Monday morning. Thanks for joining us. And there's something that I can't read. Best Idaho Media Showcase will be back next Friday at 7 p.m. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.